Hello everybody. So this video is about MSTR and BTC quantum FUD again, and of course Saylor had correctly identified quantum as the FUD of the moment. Yes, it is heavily discussed on social media, and today it is what everybody's talking about. After Willy Woo, you do it for the clicks, right? After Willy Woo just said, oh, we're going to unleash 4 million coins that need to be priced in, because for some reason, he doesn't believe that the protocol will be updated. I am very much tired about this quantum FUD. Saylor addressed it in the call, but it seems like more and more folks are believing that quantum FUD are the real threat to Bitcoin. We have had an example of this, of hacks and exploits. It is ETH and ETH Classic. You may remember ETH was hacked. They updated the protocol to remain Ethereum. The old protocol became ETH Classic. And Ethereum Classic and ETH Classic, the very original one, is worth like $8 today. While, of course, Ethereum is, $2,000? Something like that. The protocol can move on if there is a breach, because, you see, I don't want to own the Satoshi's coin. Like, if a quantum computer ever breaks into Satoshi's wallet, which, by the way, these lost coins, out of these lost coins, 1 million of these are Satoshis, I'm not going to pay for a Satoshi coin that was stolen by a quantum computer. And I think nobody in the Bitcoin network is going to want to buy a stolen coin that was, removed by a quantum hack, by a quantum computer quantum hack. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like I don't want any stolen coins. The stolen coins are not going to make it back into circulation. We are going to update the network so that coins cannot be stolen, so that old coins are frozen in time. And that, of course, is something that can only happen if quantum actually can break the algorithm, if they can actually decode the public keys into private keys. And by the way, there's another problem. We don't know how many coins are lost. We absolutely have no idea of that. People estimate, they say 5 million, they say 6 million, but we don't know. And we don't know how many of these are hackable. We know how many of the very, very old ones are hackable. But frankly, if you've used a wallet any time after 2015, the odds are there is no double spend. The odds are you have not broadcasted the public key on the network, and therefore there is nothing to decode because that public key has never been broadcast on the network. So to me, unfortunately, this is just attempts at getting the clicks. When Ethereum forked, everybody stopped using Ethereum Classic. I think the same thing is going to happen to Bitcoin, which at some point the protocol will upgrade and we will all move to the new protocol. Of course, most likely, most of us will not even be impacted by that debate in the protocol, because if you own Bitcoin in a wallet that is less than 10 years old, you're not impacted. Even 12 years old, depending on it's really, really the early day paper wallets. These you would need to do something, but you would be a highly technical person anyways if you were getting Bitcoin in 2012 or 2013. But anybody who got into Bitcoin later is not going to be impacted by this. And the very early OGs in Bitcoin who, for some reason, may actually have a wallet who has a public key that is exposed, these people would need to move the Bitcoin from an old wallet to, frankly, any modern day wallet. Any modern day wallet, like just take that old Bitcoin with a public key and move it from a modern day wallet, and then you're good, you're safe, and of course, this quote unquote quantum proof wallet may even be improved. I don't even know what upgrades you could do to the code, but if you don't, as far as I'm concerned, if there's no public key published anywhere, there's nothing to decode. There's nothing for quantum to decode. So, and this is what Saylor has said. This is what I entirely agree with Saylor. It's just like when banks started introducing two-factor authentication, they tell you one time, they tell you two times, they tell you three times, and after three times, you can't access the bank account unless you turn on 2FA, right? They force you after a while. Well, the same could happen to Bitcoin, which is like it's going to be broadcast everywhere. Okay, if you still have an old wallet, you need to update, you need to update, you need to update. And at some point, you're not going to be able to reuse that old wallet who keeps publishing the public keys. But it is a normal practice that whenever you do a transaction on a Bitcoin address, you do two transactions. You do your first transaction for your payment, and then you do another transaction to move all of your money to a private public key, if that makes some sense. A private public key that is not broadcast on the network. Which is why whenever you see a transaction on a modern wallet, if you look at the addresses, it's always two of them. So anyways, and this is my big point. Who would honor the BTC price for a stolen Bitcoin? If you follow the story of Ethereum Classic and ETH, ETC and ETH, the people who had stolen a bunch of Ethereum Classic, they tried to sell it as Ethereum, and that didn't work. To me, we will freeze the protocol in time. And so I'll get to that in a second. There should be a really another headline. Let me tell you, this is what the headline should be. Quantum proof BTC upgrade will make Bitcoin 40% more rare. This is probably what we should be talking about. Thanks to the Bitcoin quantum proof upgrade, will make Bitcoin 40% more rare. We will remove the FUD of the Satoshi wallet moving. We will remove that FUD because if we upgrade the Bitcoin, the Satoshi wallet cannot move anymore. But anyways, here's another point. This one's from Kathy Wood, but I entirely agree with her on that one. I actually, I've been studying IONQ a few times. We are so far away. Like we are, these quantum companies, they are in the supply chain moment of quantum. Like they're trying to actually build a fab and build a facility to actually manufacture quantum computers. Like we are at the lab stage. We are very early at the lab stage. Kathy Wood was making this joke that she's heard about quantum computers her entire career, saying it's always 50 years away. And I've seen a lot of people, compare quantum to nuclear fusion, right? Nuclear fusion's coming, you know that, right? But it's been coming for 40 years or something. So yeah, eventually these techs will happen. This makes me think of AI, by the way. AI had been discussed for 40 years until it became real. It's going to become real at one point, but probably not within the next 5 years. The quantum computing industry is struggling to actually build the hardware and build the equipment in order to do quantum at scale. We are nowhere near to doing it at scale. This is going to take a very long time, and in my view, it's quite obvious Bitcoin will be upgraded, and it might be upgraded by force, by the way. Like if we get a surprise quantum breach and we see the Satoshi wallets moving, nobody's gonna want that Bitcoin. That Bitcoin is not gonna get a bid like the other Bitcoin, and thus there will be a natural upgrade of the network. It will be forced. That's kind of what I think here. And that's a big if. So this is my final point. The price drives the narrative. The price is down right now, so everybody's down. Fear and greed just dropped again today. I was looking at that, so we're nearing 10 on fear and greed, and therefore it means it's time for Bitcoin influencers to turn negative, because you do it for the clicks. And it doesn't help that, of course, now X, I think they tripled or quadrupled payments from X post now. So now everybody has a great incentive to be negative on social media, because if you're negative, you're much more likely to get a click. Much more likely to trend if you scare everybody. Sailor correctly identified this. That's why they've joined this committee. I think Coinbase also had this committee invest. They correctly identified this. We need to fight this FUD. To me, quantum computing, if anything, is bullish because it will harden the protocol and it will permanently freeze the wallets that are not on quantum proof wallets, right? The wallets that are not quantum proof will be permanently frozen by an upgrade to a new protocol. And in my view, this really should be the headline about quantum. Quantum proof Bitcoin upgrade will make Bitcoin 40% more rare. This is probably the headline, but this is not the headline that you see. The headline that you see is the market is pricing in that the coin that are up for stealing are going to be recognized by the market for the same price as the coin were, acquired honestly. I don't believe that a second. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful, wonderful day.